Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cruising with Matthew. Today I'm going to give you some hints and tips about Fred Olsen's Balmoral, which I was lucky enough to sail on during a 4-night press trip in September 2022. So I really hope you enjoy this video. Before I start, I want to highlight today's sponsor, which is My Kind of Cruise. They are the world's first and only mobile app where you can search, compare, and book a cruise across a range of cruise lines, including Fred Olsen. I've actually booked with them for my April 2023 cruise on board the fabulous P&O Britannia, and I was super impressed with their high standards of customer service and good prices. Therefore, if you want to check them out yourselves, then click on the link in the description below. Now, on with the video. Number 1. Balmoral Size makes her a unique cruise ship. By today's cruise ship standards, Balmoral is quite small, being dwarfed by today's larger and more modern cruise ships. She weighs in at 43,000 gross tons with a capacity of 1,300 passengers and 530 crew. This is by no means a bad thing, as due to her size, we found Balmoral incredibly easy to navigate. Everything was easy to reach, as we didn't need to walk long distances to get from point A to point B. Therefore, I feel that this would be a great ship for people with limited mobility due to her smaller size. Another benefit to Balmoral being on the smaller side is the fact that she feels a lot more personal and homely. For instance, even though we were only on board for 4 nights, I felt like the staff got to know us really quickly, getting to know our preferences and things like that. It made the whole experience on Balmoral feel a lot more personalised. We also got to know fellow passengers a lot easier, as being on a smaller ship with less people on, you ended up bumping into the same people who by chance had the same routine as you. Perhaps the biggest benefit to her smaller size, however, has to be the fact that she is able to reach areas of the world that larger ships simply cannot reach. Our cruise was a key example of this, as her smaller size enabled us to sail up the River Seine up to Rouen. This was an incredible experience, as prior to this cruise I didn't actually realise that cruise ships could sail into the Seine, so it was quite a surreal experience doing this, as for instance one morning I woke up, got out onto the balcony and saw the French countryside rolling past our balcony, with several picturesque French towns and villages passing along the way. This is impossible on a larger cruise ship, so on these types of itineraries, Balmoral truly comes into her own. Number 2. Spend an evening in the Observatory. One of my favourite bars on board Balmoral has to be the Observatory, which is a forward-facing bar situated right at the top of the ship on deck 11. This is a really popular space on board, offering panoramic views out to sea, and is a great place to enjoy some pre or post dinner drinks in an evening. What I like is that Fred Olsen really makes the most of this space as well, as they will host some unique events in this area too. For instance, during our cruise there was an extra charge wine and cheese night which looked really well attended, as well as Shaken Not Stirred. This was a James Bond themed evening. During the course of the event, you had an opportunity to try some martinis which were on offer, and as part of my research of course, I couldn't help but try some, whilst the talented singers of the Balmoral Theatre Company sung a range of Bond songs, with the likes of Goldfinger as well as Skyfall being sung. It was a really nice start to the evening, and I hadn't been too sure what to expect, so I'd really recommend you keep an eye out for this during your cruise. Number 3. Walk Balmoral's Promenade Deck. The traditional design of Balmoral means that she has one of my favourite features on a ship, a full wraparound promenade deck. This is quite unique on Balmoral, as unlike most ships, it goes right to the front of the ship, meaning that you can look out over the bow. Now, you don't often have access to this area on a ship, so I really enjoyed standing here as I got some incredible views whilst Balmoral was sailing along the Seine. Additionally, if you look up, you can also get a good view of the bridge from quite a unique perspective, something which the maritime geek in me absolutely loved. Now do note some portions of the promenade can get quite narrow, with occasional lifeboat equipment dotted throughout. However, I felt it didn't affect the view all that much and arguably made the space feel quite unique. I especially enjoyed these little segments of open deck space that go right to the edge of the ship, which gives you a great vantage point. Overall, I think the promenade deck is just a great space as it gives you numerous opportunities to take in the sea or port views from a lower perspective than the upper decks. It helps you make the most of periods of scenic cruising, such as when we sailed up and down the River Seine, so I really enjoy this space on Balmoral. Number 4. Try Fred Olsen's traditional afternoon tea. If you want to celebrate a special occasion, or if you're like me and you just love afternoon tea, then I'd recommend booking Balmoral's extra charge afternoon tea. This is held in the Observatory on certain sea days and costs £13 per person. Now me and Yeyan were kindly gifted this opportunity during our trip and I was super impressed with the whole experience. Throughout the event you get to enjoy a variety of sandwiches, cakes and scones whilst looking out to sea. All the while there's a musician playing some relaxing music and you're being topped up with copious amounts of tea or coffee. You can also enjoy, as we did, an extra charge Pim's cocktail with your afternoon tea as well, because why not? Although it is extra charge, I'd definitely consider giving it a go, because the whole experience felt really sophisticated and I was very much in my happy place. Cruising and afternoon tea. Can it get any better than that? I also want to mention how impressed we were with Yeyan's dairy-free selection, as with some minor alterations, he basically got the same types of food as I got, just dairy-free, so a big well done to Fred Olsen. Number 5. Try dining al fresco in Avon and Spey. Now, as I've mentioned in my previous videos, I always prefer dining in the main dining room for breakfast and lunch in addition to your dinner in an evening. We prefer breakfast and lunch here over the standard buffet options as we feel like there's less chance of accidental dairy contamination for Yeyan and we find the whole experience a lot more relaxing. Now, the main dining rooms on Balmoral were set out slightly different to what I was used to, as you had the typical buffet restaurant, which on Balmoral was the Palms Cafe, but there was also a buffet in the main dining rooms which were Avon, Spey and Ballandalloch. This being said, however, there is still an a la carte menu on your table, so you can enjoy a more formal sit-down meal if that's what you prefer, and that's what we did most meals if time allowed. Now, we always opted for the Avon and Spey restaurants as this space felt light and airy due to the large number of big picture windows here, which offered some great views. However, the best place to sit, weather permitting, was the outside alfresco area situated at the top of Balmoral's incredible tiered stern. Not many people seem to know that you could sit here for breakfast and lunch, but I'd urge you to give it a go as it was an incredible experience enjoying a lovely meal whilst looking down the aft of Balmoral and seeing her wake. Number 6. Enjoy a performance in the Neptune Lounge. Now, the Neptune Lounge is Balmoral's main entertainment venue, and I'll be honest, I wasn't too sure about it when I saw it for the first time. It was a lot smaller and set out quite different to other cruise ship theatres, so I assumed the performances here might be a bit more toned down than what I was used to on other ships. However, I was happy to be proven completely wrong, as the standard of the shows on board Balmoral were really impressive, with a personal highlight being the Balmoral Theatre Company's performance of Ministry of Sound. This was packed full of powerful songs and high energy choreography. There were performers jumping off the stage and running down the aisles. I'll be honest, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening most of the time, but it was just so much fun and me and Yeyan absolutely loved this show. I also really enjoyed the design of the Neptune Lounge, as the seats were really comfortable in this area. You also had the opportunity to enjoy a drink with the performance, which was always appreciated. Therefore, even if going to a theatre isn't usually your thing, I'd really recommend that you give it a go on Balmoral, as they're included within your fare, and the shows that we saw on Balmoral were on par, if not better, than some other larger cruise lines, so definitely something to try. Number 7. Try Balmoral's specialty restaurants. Balmoral, like her sister ships, have 2 extra charge specialty restaurants. This includes Vasco, which is inspired by Goan cuisine, as well as Colours and Tastes, which serves Asian fusion dishes inspired by Japan, Thailand, China and the Philippines. Although they do cost a little extra, I'd recommend giving both of these a go, as I found them incredibly good value. Each restaurant costs £10 per person if you book it before you go on your cruise, or £15 if booked on board. Now, me and Yeam were really impressed with both restaurants, as they offered something a bit different compared to the other food options on board Balmoral. The food itself was always packed full of flavour, well presented and served in very generous portion sizes. What made this experience even better was the fact that the staff who worked here were extremely passionate about the food being served to us. This was largely due to the fact that the food we were having was inspired by dishes that they've eaten in their own countries, so it made the whole experience feel really special and quite authentic. Another big plus point was the fact that both restaurants did really well in accommodating Yean's dairy intolerance, giving him the chance to choose the dishes he wanted the day before so they could adapt it and make it dairy free, so well done to Fred Olsen for this. Number 8. Make the most of the Lido Bar and Lounge. Another great venue to enjoy on Balmoral is the Lido Lounge and Bar. This is a great place to sit back and relax, listening to the various live music performances going on, or taking part in the various quizzes which take place in this venue. It was always full of energy, especially in an evening, and we had lots of laughs here during our cruise. However, I just wanted to point out the stunning glass-fronted area of the Lido Bar, which is a unique area where you can look out towards the aft of Balmoral without needing to step outside. This is a great all-weather feature and was much appreciated nearing the end of our Seine transit, as it started pouring it down near Honfleur, and as a result I got very soggy. However, it was a great place to retreat to, enabling us to still watch the French countryside pass us by, but also being able to dry off with a nice coffee. Another great feature to the Lido Bar is that, thanks to Balmoral's tiered aft, there are 2 small areas of outside deck space. What I really like is the fact that there are heat lamps attached to the ceiling, so even if it's a bit chilly outside, you can still enjoy those sea views. Me and Yean really enjoyed sitting out here as we sailed along the River Seine. Therefore, I'd highly recommend you make the most of this during your cruise, because not many ships have a tiered aft quite like Balmoral. So there you have it, my hints and tips on how to make the most of your time on board Fred Olsen's Balmoral, and I really hope you enjoyed it. A massive thank you to Fred Olsen for gifting me this trip, and thanks to My Kind of Cruise for sponsoring me. If you've enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe, because it's always appreciated. And if you want to know more about Cruising with Matthew, then take a look at my other social media sites, the links are in the description below. I hope that you're all doing well at the moment, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. So this is Cruising with Matthew, and thank you so much for watching.